The word plumber comes from the Latin word plumbum, which means lead. We sometimes forget that the ancient civilizations had lead pipes to deliver water for various uses. The men who installed these, were called, naturally, plumbers. And since those ancient times, the world of plumbing and plumbers has come a long way. Today, we will explore this world with a modern-day plumber. My name is Billy Atwood, and I will be your host for this edition of The Better Part. Stay tuned.
Welcome to The Better Part, a program that encompasses a diverse spectrum of topics important to our community, which we hope will both inform and entertain you. We invite you to sit back and enjoy the program.
Today, our guest is my favorite plumber, Dave the Plumber. I asked him to come into the studio for this interview so we learn more about what makes a plumber tick and also learn the ins and outs of the plumbing trade. Welcome aboard, Dave.
I'm glad to be here, Billy.
Well, Dave, tell our audience what your grandfather did when you were a child.
My grandfather, when I was a child, was a plumber, and he started his own plumbing business in Lewiston, Idaho, and he would take me out on plumbing calls with him. He was educated at Notre Dame and married my grandmother, Mary Jean Dickinson, who was a graduate of Stanford in 1932. How he got into the plumbing business is still a mystery, but he taught me how to fix just about anything. And if it couldn't be fixed, you shouldn't have it.
Well, that's a good philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So is that why you decided to become a plumber when you grew up?
It kind of was. My grandfather took me out on one call, I remember in particular, and I recognized how the customers thought of him as a hero. And I always wanted to be a hero like him. He was missing some digits, so I imagine I still have all my fingers.
You mean he missed them because of the plumbing work he did?
Yes, he did a lot of machinist work. And
didn't know it was so dangerous.
Yeah, there is. Tools will do that to you. They're kind of unforgiving.
So what's involved in becoming a licensed plumber in California, and how long have you been in this trade?
I've been in this trade since I was young. I've taken some college, but I would always go back to plumbing for a summer job. And to be a plumber, you can probably apprentice at most any plumbing shop. But to be a contractor, you have to register with the state of California and take a test. And once you register and take a test, then you have to follow the guidelines set aside by the state of California to become a contractor and get bonded and licensed and insured.
And all that rigmarole, huh?
Yep.
Well, tell us about your plumbing baptism of fire event.
Oh. My grandfather took me on one call in particular. It was a plugged kitchen sink, and it was quite distressing for the tenant. And we went down in the basement, and he had determined where the blockage was, and he brought a snake. A snake is a device used for going through the pipe and clearing the blockage so that water will pass naturally. Well, he started working that snake, and he figured he had run the snake long enough through the pipe, and he began to extract the snake from the pipe. And as he did so, a little piece of grease was on that snake, and it flew through the air right on my brand new ski jacket.
Aha!
And before I could get up there and wipe it with my thumb, he had already grabbed my wrist and stopped me. And I said, "Don't worry, Grandpa, it will come out." And he says, "It'll never come out, and your mother will never forgive me." And I refer to that as my baptism into the trade, and I've been doing it ever since. Happily.
What, flipping, you mean grease around?
Well, it's kind of a dirty job. There's not a lot of glamour to plumbing. It's particularly dirty. It's particularly difficult. It's a lot of thinking and a lot of doing. There's not a healthy balance of trouble versus solutions. Basically what you have is you're a hero, and you got to find a new solution to a different problem every day.
Getting into the details of plumbing, tell our audience what a dolphin toilet is.
Dolphin toilets. Dolphin toilets were early 1900 toilets that were given to people who owned Victorian homes. This was the first widespread use of toilets indoors. And it was shaped as a fish, and the fish's mouth was open, and that was the part of the toilet. And of course the tail went down with the pipe. So it's quite humorous to think about sitting on a fish.
Well, I guess so, for heaven's sakes. So what should everyone know about the plumbing in their own home?
Well, there's a number of things you can, as a homeowner, you probably want to keep in mind. The first one is any pipes that are exposed outside, you probably want to make sure they don't freeze. We live in California and it doesn't get real cold here, but if there are exposed pipes, they can be, in the wintertime, susceptible to being frozen. So putting insulation on them usually solves that issue. The second thing you probably ought to do as a homeowner is know how to unjam your garbage disposal in your kitchen sink. You don't need a plumber to do that. It's something a simple tool.
Plumber's helper?
Yeah. Well, a plumber's helper is another name for a plunger, and plungers can work in unjamming disposals, but particularly if the motor is jammed, there's a little tool that you can put in the bottom and turn it.
Yeah,
and
they give that to you when you get your disposal.
That's right, you're aware of that. And there's a little reset button at the bottom of the disposal, and that reset button will pop out every now and again, and you want to push that back in to see if you can get it to turn again.
Oh, yeah.
The third and fourth things that are most important about owning a home and knowing about your plumbing is you want to know where the shutoff valve is to shut the water off to your house. Frequently, over time, you might find that that'll come in handy, knowing where that is and how to shut your water off quickly. And of course, last but not least, I tell all my customers not to use any chemicals to clear stoppages in their drain lines. Chemicals that are sold on the market as drain cleaners usually don't work, and they can do a lot of harm to new and old plumbing.
Good heavens. Well, okay. So have your customers or their pets given you any problems?
Oh. You know, that brings to mind one funny episode. I went into a lady's house. She says, "Do you like dogs?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she had just the smallest little dog. And I've never seen a dog this small before in my life. And it barked like it was a big dog. And for some reason, it wouldn't stop barking even after I started crawling under her house. And I crawled under the house to get over to where the problem was. And that little dog jumped in right behind me. And he followed me all the way down till I got to where the problem was. And he did a most remarkable thing. He started biting on my pant leg, and he started pulling as hard as he could. And he pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled. And I figured, well, you know, maybe I shouldn't be down here. Maybe this dog knows something that I don't know. Maybe I ought to just, take this as a sign and come out of this crawl space. Oh, I crawled all the way back with this dog pulling me the whole way. He clamped onto my pant leg, and I got all the way out, and I bent down to pet him on the head, and he bit me.
Ah, for heaven's sakes. So you never learned why?
I never learned why.
He thought that something dangerous was there.
I never learned why.
He just wanted you out of there so he could bite you.
Yeah, something like that. Just a little nip on my hand when I went down to pet him.
Oh, well, so much for the man's best friend, right?
Yeah. We fixed the problem just the same.
Oh, good. You and the dog?
Yes.
So what's new in the world of plumbing?
What's new? Well, the new thing in plumbing is there are no lead fixtures anymore. lead was used, like you started out saying, in plumbing pipe, particularly in Rome, and the aqueduct systems were all lined with lead. Now, nowadays, the national standard is to not have any lead in any faucets, in any piping, anything that carries potable water through it cannot have any lead in it. And that's the newest, latest, and greatest. Now, the manufacturers of plumbing products have gone in two directions. One is to manufacture faucets without lead but still make them out of brass, and the other direction is to take the lead out by going completely to plastic. So there's a lot of products on the market that probably aren't going to last real long because of this new law. So you have to be careful what you buy.
Oh, lead was the thing that really lasted then.
Well, lead lowers the melting temperature of metal. So whenever they melt anything, like to create a faucet, if you put lead in it, it lowers the temperature. If you lower the temperature, you save money in energy. Mm-hmm. And now that lead, of course, being exposed to water all the time, leached into our groundwater system and is leached into our holding ponds and bays. And they test for lead, and they have determined that if we take lead out of manufacturing, then it'll solve this problem.
Oh, well, good. Mm-hmm. It's nice to be able to solve a problem. At least one, huh?
At least one.
So what kind of problems do you encounter working on old homes versus new homes?
Old homes typically have old piping systems that are made of cast iron and steel, and their time is nearly done. They're not lasting long anymore. There's leaks associated with those old homes. New homes are plumbed in plastic and copper, and the copper is fine. Sometimes the plastic can be a problem. So we prefer working on old homes because they tend to have more access. They have bigger crawl spaces underneath the house, so we have a lot of room to move around. The newer homes, they're a little bit tighter, and they don't offer a lot of freedom of movement.
That's why you stay so slender.
Yeah, yes, it helps to stay slender.
So what kind of plumbing scams should people, like especially seniors, be aware of?
You know, I'm not really sure there's a lot of plumbers scamming people these days. I haven't heard of any recently, but my best advice along those lines is if you're going to have some work done in your house, get an estimate and call for a second opinion. Generally, most contractors will give you a free estimate and give you their opinion. And if you get 3 opinions, well, 2 of them match, you know you're on the right track.
Oh, well, that sounds pretty good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And are there any tricks of the plumbing trades that we need to know about?
There's a lot of tricks.
Oh,
but
wow.
generally speaking, this trade is not built up of tricks. It's built up of craftsmanship and skill. Every now and again I run across a phone call. Somebody will call me and say, Dave, I've got a leak going on somewhere in the house and I need to put a Band-Aid on it shortly. And I can tell them how to put a Band-Aid on a leak quickly, and that way it doesn't ruin their day waiting for a plumber to come and fix it.
Oh.
So that's been helpful for me.
What kind of Band-Aid is it?
Well, water can escape pipes either through pressure or through gravity. And if it's a gravity leak, that's probably something going down the drain. And it's probably something, if you just shut the water off to the faucet, if water doesn't go down the drain anymore, it's not going to leak anymore. And the second type of leak is a pressure leak. Water that's leaking under pressure runs out at anywhere from 60 to 90 pounds of pressure, and to put a Band-Aid on that, we use a little hose clamp and a little piece of rubber, and we tighten it up, and that'll stop the leak for the time being until you buy some time and get a good quality craftsman out there to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds pretty good. So what do you like best doing in your work?
the best thing is satisfied customers. Being a hero is always better than anything else in this trade.
Oh yeah, well, we do like our plumbers to be heroes, and know what they're doing.
True, and I appreciate that, and I strive for that.
Okay. Well then, is there anything that's really bad that you don't like to do? Or, something that's...
Well, certainly crawling under houses isn't my favorite thing to do, but that would rank up there in the top 3 items that aren't appealing. It's not a glamorous job, but when the day is done, you go to bed and sleep good.
So anything else besides the crawl space, the space that's maybe too small? Or...
Dogs that bite.
Well, my son is an appraiser,
Oh.
and he says he has been bitten because he has to go out to appraise houses and all that. And how about the mailman? You always hear songs about them getting bitten and all that.
Sure.
So I guess dogs will bite anyone, even plumbers.
They're just being protective, and it's an honorable profession to be a dog that's protecting the master, and I respect that.
Oh, I see. Well, okay. So would you recommend the plumbing trade to any youngsters or kids around?
I do recommend the plumbing trade to young fellows that are looking for a career. It's not something you get rich doing, but you'll always be busy. Certainly, I would forward that going to school and going to college is probably the first thing you ought to do. But
to become a plumber, you mean? You don't have to go to college to become a plumber.
You don't have to go to college to become a plumber.
Do a tradesman thing or whatever.
I don't know too many people that wake up in the morning and realize they were born to do one thing. So if you go to school, you might find out better what you're suited for.
Oh, that's words of wisdom. So you're going to suggest to your 2 daughters maybe you'd like to be plumbers?
They're on a path all to their own. I sure don't think that they're not. They both play the piano and sing and dance with ease. I imagine that they'll probably do anything but plumbing.
Well, now, do you still have plumbing apprentices in the trade?
I do. I get about 1 to 2 a year, guys that are out of work. They fancy themselves as good with tools, and then I find out.
Oh, you find out?
I find out if they're good with tools. And then hopefully they extract a few skills and are able to fix their own homes. But generally 1 to 2 guys a year come through my shop and want to work for a while and see if they like it. I just got a call a month ago from a fellow that worked for me 23 years ago.
Wow.
Kevin, and he called me from Pennsylvania, and he said that he's a full-time plumber over there, and he owes it all to me, and he just wanted to let me know, thank you for including me in your school of training.
Well, now, can they go through you to become a plumber, or do they have to take classes and get a diploma or something?
There's classes available. Tradesman classes are available in San Jose and the larger Bay Area. They don't have to. You can learn this trade by just doing. That's kind of the way I went. When I went to college, I went for English.
To be an English teacher, maybe?
I was, actually, yes.
Oh.
But I didn't finish college, and I went back and found my roots doing what I love to do. And I eat, sleep, drink, think, wake up in the morning thinking about plumbing.
Wow.
It's just something I just love to do.
Well, that's nice to do what you love to do. That's what everybody should. So I understand you've collected some interesting quotes about plumbing made by notable people. So tell us about some of them.
Yes, my mother hands me down these quotes every now and again, and she told me about the Prince of Wales. He said at one time, I'm not sure what year he said this, but the quote goes something like this, see if I can get it right. He said, if I could not be a prince, I would rather have been a plumber. And
wow.
So he must have had some experience that caused him to say that, so that's quite interesting. And then another one that my mother tells me is her favorite was Nancy Reagan. Nancy Reagan, during the Reagan years, in the Reagan administration, had just had a party, a big bash at the White House, and there was a leak. And the following day, she stated to the press that among all those senators and dignitaries and ambassadors, she would have traded them all for one good plumber.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
None of them were plumbers, though, huh?
None of them were plumbers.
Well, I hope the White House has a plumber by now.
I'm certain they do.
Standing by.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Okay, well, tell our audience about some funny episodes that you've run into while you were on the job.
Well, frequently I'm working after hours in people's houses. The kids are out of school, and I had to crawl under this house to fix a leak. And it was a tight crawl space. It wasn't real large. It was a newer home. And I got down there, and I got all the way to the end. Well, this family had 3 younger children, and one by one they crawled in right after me, and they shot past me with the greatest of ease right through the crawl space, just beyond me. And of course, a lot of things come to mind when I see 3 young children crawling under a house. There's liability, there's the leak that I have to fix, there's a number of worried things that come out. And I hollered to the kids, and I said, you might want to ask your parents if it's okay to be down there here. Mm-hmm. And they said okay. And one of them went back to the opening of the crawl space and said, "Dad, can we crawl under the house with the plumber?" And he said, "Sure."
Oh, good heavens.
So I crawled all the way to the leak, and I needed a couple of things. So I told them what I needed. I had left all the tools at the mouth of the hole going down through the closet, and they fetched me the tools that I needed one by one, quicker than I could have crawled from end to end. And after I fixed the leak, they wanted to stay down there. I was a little bit shocked, but I needed to get them out of there because there's no reason to be down there anymore, and there's a lot of wiring down there, and that's a huge concern. So I fancied up probably the best lie I ever told. I said, "Did you see that?" And they said, "What?" I said, "Well, I thought I saw a mouse." Those kids were out of there in a lickety-split. They just took 2 seconds and were gone.
Whoa, all right.
And I don't think they've gone down there since.
That's thinking on your knees.
Yeah. On my knees, on my back. Yep.
Oh, on your back you're crawling.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a different way of crawling, huh?
Yeah.
Crawling along on your back instead of forward like a little kid crawls.
You lay on your back and you inch your way along by throwing one shoulder ahead of the other. And a lot of times you can grab hold of pipes that are strapped and pull yourself. But face down is not the way to crawl under a house. On your back is always better.
Yeah, I can think if your face is down there, who knows what's coming up to greet your face.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, anything else you want to say about plumbing?
Well, I've enjoyed being here, and thank you for having me. I'm 3 days shy of my 50th birthday.
Oh, I thought it was today.
Nope, it's Saturday.
Saturday. Mm-hmm. Okay.
September 25th.
And here, read out your birthday card. I thought it was today. Read it out.
Billy, thank you. You're so thoughtful. I really appreciate this.
Well, read it out.
A philosophical question on your birthday. When someone your age is alone in the forest and falls over, is there a noise? Yes? No? Oh well, have fun, Billy.
And also, you do woodworking as a hobby.
Yes, I do.
And here is what he made for me. This and this. And what was the kind of wood?
It's red carob, and it's an ice cream cone and an ice cream. Mm-hmm. Made out of wood.
That's really neat. Mm-hmm. And you've made some other kinds of things with your woodworking, bowls and...
Yes.
Now, how did you get started on that?
My grandfather was a machinist.
The grandfather again.
Yes, he was a machinist prior to being a plumber, and he worked at the mill, the wood mill. And he had wood lathes and sharpening tools and cutters of all kinds. And he brought them with him to the plumbing business. And I got to see a lot of the things that he made while you're just tinkering.
And then we have these. This one has it down here.
Mm-hmm.
And this one has it up here.
Mm-hmm.
So why the difference here?
Well, these are called tub spouts. They go in your bathtub, and they all have, they're all just a little bit different. This one is able to thread onto a pipe coming out the wall real short here.
Show the audience what it looks like there.
And then when you pull this up, it changes so that you can take a shower. This one is made for not a threaded pipe, but a piece of copper sticking out the wall. And you slide this over and tighten up the Allen wrench underneath. And once again, you lift this for the shower, but this is made for a shower setup that has a piece of copper sticking out the wall. Sometimes we run across a different situation. This one also takes a threaded pipe in the backside, but because of the smooth contour of the front here, some people would rather not have this portion there, so we put it in the back. This is a little bit better manufacturer. It'll last a little bit longer. This one has just a very thin piece of rubber that makes the whole thing work, and this one has more of a mechanical advantage.
Well, listen, I'm glad you've been here and you've said your thing, and many more plumbing jobs for you.
It's been my pleasure, Billy. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that you have found today's program both informative and interesting. If you would like to suggest a topic or a guest for The Better Part, you can always reach us at the Cupertino Senior Center. The number there is 408-777-3150. You can learn more about us and order a copy of this program or one of the many programs that we've done by visiting our website. The website address is www.thebetterpart.com. The Better Part has many of its programs available through the Santa Clara County Library System. And The Better Part has selected programs also on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you next week.